Hey everybody, it's Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me for tonight's YouTube premiere. I am so excited about the projects tonight, and I hope you are too. We're going to be featuring some one-sheet wonder projects for you. I know how much you guys love those. I absolutely love creating them. It's just such a nice little challenge to see how much I can get out of one sheet of cardstock. Now I have 3 separate projects for you, and each project will be created with one sheet of cardstock and maybe a couple little extras. Trust me, I have worked this down to a science that we're going to get every little bit out of the cardstock. You are going to love this. Now, each project that I have 3 different versions to share with you. So I'll have a Christmas version, and then I will have maybe a birthday or thinking of you, just some other versions of the projects as well, because I want you to be able to use these ideas all year long. Now, I mentioned we are on live in the YouTube premiere. Well, kind of live. This is already filmed, but there's a chat box here at YouTube. So if you are watching on Thursday, December 5th at 7 p.m. Central Time, guess what? You're watching it live. Maybe you already got a notification from YouTube that I was live right now. You can head over to that chat box, and I'm there waiting for you, and we're going to be chatting up a storm tonight. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like we're stamping together and just hanging out in the same room together. It's a lot of fun. So I hope if you are on with us that you'll join us in the chat room. Now, in order to chat, you do need to be logged into your YouTube account, so take a minute to do that. And hey, if you've already done that, make sure you click the great big red subscribe button and ring the bell. Ringing that bell will let YouTube know that you'd like a notification whenever I'm back here with a premiere or when I'm back with a new video. Are you ready? Okay, first, before we get started, let me just show you the projects that we're going to be working on tonight. Oh my gosh, these are gorgeous. So, up there at the top, you see I've got some really great desk calendars. These are going to make great little gifts for coworkers and neighbors and acquaintances and things that you want to do a little something for. These are a lot of fun. Now, you notice those big long boxes down there. Those are filled with, my personal favorite, chocolates. Yes, that's a wonderful little chocolate box filled with 7 Hershey nuggets. They are tons of fun to make. You can actually make 2 of those from one sheet of cardstock. And then our last project down there, those little squares, that is a wonderful little tea box. And inside this little tea, I'm going to call it a tea booklet actually. When you open it up, you're going to find a tea poem. I have 2 for Christmas and I have 2 for friendship. And then on the other side are the world's best cookies, Biscoff cookies. And so they get a little tea and cookie gift. And like I said, it kind of ties up in a little booklet. It's going to be a fun night, you guys, a very fun night. Now, I need to share one quick thing before we get started on all the projects, because all the projects have not only the central theme of being one-sheet wonders, but it also has a central theme of using one set of dies. And that is the Stitch Shapes dies. So I use these on just about every single project, and so I wanted to point that out, but if you do not have the stitch shape dies, you can also use the different layering collections. Now we have layering squares, layering circles, and layering ovals. These projects will work with those, so if you have this collection, not to worry, these projects are going to work great for that as well. As I work on the project tonight, you're going to hear me talk about the tutorial quite a bit. Guys, when it comes to one sheet wonders, diagrams, measurements, there's usually a lot of them, a lot of scoring, cutting. I have a tutorial for you. It's actually a 22-page tutorial. This is a biggie. And guys, this thing has, like I said, it has your diagrams, written instructions, photos of all the projects. It has a complete supply list. And I mentioned those poems. Yep, the poems are in here as well. And those little calendars, you're going to get those as well for 2000 and 2001. So I have got you covered with this tutorial. Head over to SimplySimpleStamping.com, and that is where you can order the complete tutorial collection. And I would love for you guys to have that. Are you ready to get started? I know you are. I love One Sheet Wonders, so let's go. The first project we're going to create today are these fabulous Hershey Nugget boxes. These are one of my favorites. Let me show you. It's got a little belly band around it, and you can slide that off, and when you open the box, inside are some beautifully wrapped chocolates. That's so much better than just plain chocolate, right? And there's a lot of different ways that you can decorate, obviously, for any holiday. They are great for a stocking stuffer. They're nice and tall, but they're also a wonderful gift for, friends and coworkers as well. Okay, I am so excited to share with you how to create these boxes. Let's get started. Now for our boxes, this will make two. I have a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock and 6 by 12 inch designer series paper. You can also do this project with the 6 by 6 designer series paper, but remember you're going to need 2 sheets in order to do that. Before we get started, we need to cut down our 8.5 by 11 to 8.5 by 10.5. And now we'll get to scoring. Now in my tutorial, there is a diagram for how to do the scoring, but I'm gonna go ahead and give you those measurements. And we're gonna start by scoring at 3 inches on all 4 sides. So just rotate your cardstock around 3/4 of an inch, all 4 sides. We're going to take the 10.5 inch side, it's here at the top. We're gonna score at 2¼ inch, 3 inch, and 4.5 inch. Now we're gonna rotate the cardstock around. Let's repeat those same measurements. So 2¼ 3 inches, and 4.5 inches. All right, our scoring's done. So now we're just going to cut this in half. I've got the 10.5 inch side at the top. Half of 10.5 is 5¼ and we will cut that in half. And I've now created 2 of my Hershey Nugget boxes. I'm going to zoom in and I hope you can see we have 3 squares here on our cardstock. And what I want to do is I'm going to take my paper snips and I want to cut right up that score line, just right along it. And we'll actually cut up all the score lines. And then we're going to do a little mitering. Mitering is what I like to do when I work on boxes. I think boxes go together better when they are mitered because it makes them a little flatter. So see these 3 squares? Guys, what we're about to cut, you should only be cutting on these 3 squares. If you're cutting on these rectangles, stop. Don't do it. Don't cut there. We are going to cut on these squares, and I'm starting from the inside to the outside, and you're going to cut out a little piece of pizza. Just a little. Just see kind of like these little triangles. Remember, we're not cutting on that rectangle. We're only cutting on the squares, and we'll miter out. And like I said, this is what's going to make that box go together really nice and smooth. We're kind of cutting out a little bit of bulk, and it's going to mean our ends will kind of line up really nice. All right, so all of my squares are mitered on that side. Now let's repeat that here on the other side. All right, I need to do a little die cut notch from one end. Now, my problem is that's a little tight on my Big Shot. I'm gonna take one end and I'm just gonna fold it down while I work, okay? Just to make sure I kind of get that out of my way. And what I want you to notice is I'm just taking out a notch, okay? We're not getting a whole half circle. We want to still have plenty of room up here. So just take out a little notch. I'm gonna center it from side to side. Let me run that through my machine. And there you see, we just got that little sliver. Now I will tell you, you can also do that with your circle punches. If you want to try to make it go faster, you're welcome to. All right, now it's time to crease all of our score lines. When it comes to boxes, I like really nice, crisp score lines. Boxes wouldn't have a rounded edge. They'd have that really nice, harsh, crisp edge. And I don't know what it is about homemade boxes. When I give them, they just make people happy. All right, let's give these tabs here on the end a little fold as well and a little crease. All right, let's put our box together. I'm going to flip this over. Do you see where my notch is? I want to work on the squares furthest away from the notch. All right, so these 4. I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue, but you can use tear and tape. If you're happier with tear and tape, snail is just not quite strong enough. The reason why, gravity is really going to work against you when it comes to this box. And when you're adding that glue, make sure you're getting really close to that score line. That's where we really need the glue more than anything, is right up against that score. Okay, I'm simply going to take a tab and I'm just gonna fold it in. You line up those edges there on that corner. Just give it a little press. What I like about using the multi-purpose glue too is it also is kind of giving me the ability to wiggle it around if I need to. You know, I wanna make sure that I'm getting those edges right where I want them. And trust me, that glue's not gonna dry down there. It's fine. It's gonna work. And if it bothers you, you can always put the other side glue on when you're done. I just like to do it all at once. All right, we're gonna give this last one a press. All right, I'm now going to take the lid. You notice it's a hinged lid. So I'm gonna kind of give that a little bit of a score backwards because I want it to be comfortable opening and closing. And now we're gonna do that exact same technique that we just did, only now we're only going to glue the tabs there on the lid. And there's our box. Okay, very simple. Cut into our 6x12 piece of designer series paper. What we're gonna do is I've got the 12 inches up here at the top, and I'm going to cut 1 inch off and 1 inch off. All right, so I've got 2 strips 6x1. I'm going to put those together and I'm gonna cut these down to 3 inches. And you see I have 4 1x3 pieces. Let me set those off to the side. Now we're gonna work with what's left over. I'm going to cut 2 strips 1 1/4 inch. So there is 1 1/4 by 10 and 1 1/4 by 10. And I'll set those strips off to the side. Now, what I have remaining is 3 1/2 inches. I want to cut that down to 3. And this little strip I'm about to cut off is scrap, so I'll use that. That's a great little border I can use on a project. But I have this 10x3, and I'm going to cut this down into 10 1-inch strips. 1, 2, 3. So remember, it made 2 boxes. So I have a piece of designer series paper for 1 box, and I have 14 strips, so I have 7 for each box. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Simply Scored board again, and I'm going to score this at 3/4 and 1 1/2. And I'm going to repeat that on both sides of this strip of designer series paper. Of course, you'll repeat this with the other one as well. I will come in and give those a nice crease. Now I'm going to bring that box in, and this is going to adhere to the lid. And I am simply going to adhere that. You'll see it's just going to wrap around and fold and attach right there. You can either attach this with snail, with your multi-purpose glue, whichever one you prefer. And now you can see how the box goes together. All right, now for the inside of the box, chocolate. Who loves chocolate? I adore chocolate. I need 7 pieces, 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna make a pile of 3 and 4. There's a reason for that. So the pile that you have for 3, you're gonna pick up 1 pattern, and the pile for 4, you'll pick up another. So I'm gonna share with you my trick for wrapping Hershey nuggets. I'm going to take my bone folder and just kind of curl that paper a little bit. It's going to make such a difference because, again, I've talked about gravity working against us. Well, it does around these chocolates too. So you notice I'm curling this paper with 1 pattern side out. Now with this one, we're going to curl obviously the other way. So let me repeat that with all of my cards or my designer paper. I am going to bring in my snail for this because I just don't want to use glue and chocolate. I don't know if it would seep through that foil, but I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk my chocolate tasting like glue. I'm going to put snail on the ends and 2 strips down the side. Guys, you have to get a little heavy with the snail. Remember, gravity doesn't like us because we're going to wrap that around, wrap it on the side, give everything a really good press because we don't want that to pop. Now we'll use an opposite color, an opposite pattern, because, you know, we want to be able to mix it up there in the box. And then these just sit inside your box like so. All right, I'm going to finish up the rest of these, but I'll show you on this box what it looks like when they're all done. So cute. This one I decided to just simply add a bow on the one in the middle. I think that looked really nice. For this one I made it a happy birthday. The belly band is 1 3/4 inch. I'm going to be honest, whatever size belly band is going to work for you. There's not a right or wrong. And that is 5.5 inches long. And I just simply wrapped it around and added it so it would just slide there on my box, and then made a focal image to go right on top. This one, of course, I did with the Brightly Gleaming Designer Series paper with a nice Christmas theme. And this one was done with 6x6 paper. So let me tell you the trick to this one. You're gonna just die. I'm gonna actually take this apart. Let me see if I can remove. I took a, I'm gonna take off my little tag. Are you just dying that I'm ripping this apart in front of you? All right, oh, there we go. That was just on with a glue dot. So I have a story label punch that I adhered, and let me show you why. You know I'm just going to go back and fix it later. All right, so I did the same technique with the inside, but of course it wasn't 10 inches. So what I did is I did have to cut my designer series paper a little bit differently. Not to worry, I'll have those measurements for you in the tutorial. But you notice that little seam right there, we got to cover it up. So I found that the story label punch fit perfectly right there in the middle. I could add my tag. See, I told you I was just going to put it back together. And then, like I said, this one here, I chose to just put ribbon. And that's how I can use my 6x6 designer paper on my Hershey Nugget boxes. It's time to create our 2020 desk calendars. Hey, who doesn't need a new calendar? And these do make great gifts for coworkers or maybe friends at church, things like that. You can see it's a little tent style, and you're going to be able to create 2 of these from our One Sheet Wonder. So let me share with you how to score and cut. In the tutorial, I also have a diagram of how to do this, but here's what we're gonna do. I'm actually going to put the 11-inch side of my cardstock up at the top of my Simply Scored board. Keep in mind, you can also do this on your paper trimmer. We're going to start by scoring a 1/2 inch mark. We're going to go 1.5 inches and 2.5 inches and 6 3/4. That is all the scoring for our desk calendar. Now to create 2 of them, we're going to cut that in half at 4 1/4 inches. You're going to want to work with a bone folder with this project because we really need these score lines to be nice and harsh, you know, just a really nice crease. You're going to accordion fold as you crease, so it's going to look like that. I'm going to go ahead and give you just the quickie how that's going to go together. We're going to take that little 1/2 inch tab and adhere it. That's what will create the tent. So when that lays flat, it should look like this. You're going to pick your favorite designer series paper. I'm going to go with Bird Ballad. I love this DSP. It's so pretty. I'm going to add my snail adhesive. Now, you notice where my flap is, down on that end. We'll adhere that down here. By the way, that is a 4x4 piece of designer series paper, so you can get 12 of those out of just one sheet. To adhere this together, I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue, and we're going to put just a little bit of glue here on this little 1/2 inch tab. By the way, if you prefer to use tear and tape, maybe you're not a glue kind of person, that works great on this project as well. Let's fold this around. And guys, we're just gonna line up the bottom of that. All right, I'm gonna give that a happy little back rub. And now let's talk about our calendar. Now, if you order the tutorial, you will get 2 calendars, a 2020 and a 2021. Now, if you don't order the tutorial, you can still do this project. So these little calendars, many people I know order them online, or perhaps you get maybe in the mail, you get those little calendars, and a lot of times you can just rip those off, so that's a great way to reuse them. But in my tutorial, you will get a printable and cuttable calendar. So let me show you real quick how to cut. And guys, these calendars are so easy. You're going to cut at 2 3/4 inch, starting with the January, April, July, and October. Cut again at 2 3/4, and then this last one you are going to need to cut again at 2 3/4 because there's just a little sliver there that we need to get rid of. Now watch this. You're gonna love this. I've got January, February, and March. All these are going to perfectly go together, so I'm going to save you some time when you go to cut. So I've got those 3 layered together. Remember, this is just copy paper. I just printed the calendar on copy paper, and I'm going to cut all 3 layers together. We're going to cut that at 2 1/4. See my little calendars? And I have January, February, and March all right there together. Now let's cut April, May, and June, again at 2 1/4 inch, and I can layer those together. Let's repeat that with our last 6 months that we have here. And this that we have left over, that is officially recyclable. Here we go. There's my calendar. Now I'm gonna bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat, and then I have a piece of cardstock 2 1/2 by 3 inches. Now here's what I want to do. I'm actually going to start with the month of December, and I'm going to center that up there in my cardstock. And I've got my Take Your Pick tool. I want to make sure I've got that perfectly centered. And this area right here, I'm going to just simply poke a hole. You want to make it a little wide. You notice I'm just kind of poking it there and giving a little twist. Make sure it's wide enough. That's going to kind of be my template, all right? This let me set aside. And now I'm just going to bring in a few months here at a time, and I'm going to use that December as a guide. And now I can use those holes, and I can poke through just like I did before. We're going to now repeat this. So there's my December. We can put that in the back. And now I'll take the top layer, and we're going to repeat that with the last of our calendar pieces. And we're going to be using the metallic brads to put this together. Now we've got several colors and several sizes. So let's make sure we get the same size. All 3 sizes are going to work great. So don't stress, but you do want to make sure you picked up the same size and the same color. You're just going to insert a brad into the calendar and then into that cardstock, and then just press down the prongs in the back. And there you go. And so when you're ready with your next calendar, you simply take it and rip it off. It's just going to rip right through that, not a problem. Now, for our actual calendar, where you're going to put this is going to be determined on how you decorate it. So I definitely recommend putting on the calendar after you've got your pieces ready to decorate. So you can see this is the one I've done here. And I did adhere my calendar with Stampin' Dimensionals on all of these. So you'll just add your Stampin' Dimensionals, add it to the front of your tent, decorate, and of course, that's how it's going to stand up. Really a simple gift, and remember, you're making 2 because this will always create 2 different calendars. And so I did choose my sentiments based on the calendar theme. So wishing you a day of love and happy memories. Of course, day goes along with the calendar, and set sail in the direction of your dreams kind of goes along with it, you know, as days pass. And all days are beautiful that begin with you. Now, obviously, that's just what I chose, but look through the stamp sets that you have, different sentiments, different images, and in the tutorial, I will have a complete supply list that I used for each one. But guys, it's all about just getting creative, and you notice there are my stitch-shaped dies, and I use those on all of my calendars. You're gonna love this, guys. These are tea and cookie boxes, and they each have a poem inside. I have 2 poems for Christmas, and I have 2 poems for friendship, so you get to pick which one you want. We're gonna be creating the Christmas version today, and let me show you. This is just a nice little collection of tea and cookies, and inside I have a tea bag. Guys, probably one of my most favorite teas right now. And I'm gonna go on a squirrel moment and tell you about it. Harney and Sons Cinnamon Spice, Hot Cinnamon Spice Tea. Got it on Amazon. It's to die for. It's like Christmas in a cup. It's crazy good. Okay, but that tea bag is underneath here. Underneath here, I've got my Biscoff cookies. And they're gonna come in a package like this. But like I said, you're gonna need 2 packages of the individually wrapped, and there's 2 cookies in each one. So the gift you're giving are these wonderful kind of gingerbready type of cookies along with a tea. And who doesn't love tea and cookies? We've got a great little poem here. It says, on Christmas Day at 3:30, pour yourself a cup of tea. I'll think of you, you think of me, sitting around the Christmas tree. Aw, right, so cute. But this little pouch is going to be a great little gift to give to maybe some friends far away, or again, like I've been talking about, give it to your coworkers or the ladies in your Bible study, things like that. These are a lot of fun. We just tie it up here on the side, and it kind of creates almost a little book. I love these. Now, how you're going to decorate them, obviously, just kind of, you never stop. As I said, I have a different Christmas poem, if that one didn't float your boat. And then I have 2 more poems here for Christmas. These are all in the tutorial. And by the way, they're all ready to cut. Let me show you about the cutting, how we are going to cut our cardstock that has our printed poem. So the next thing we need to do is to print out our Christmas poem. Depending on the designer series paper and the cardstock that you're going to be using, you're going to choose either Whisper White or Very Vanilla. So I've printed this out on my printer, nothing fancy, but you notice I've got my 4 poems right here on the side. We're going to cut this down to 3.5 inches. Guys, this is going to be my technique to make sure that you can get 4 out of our remaining piece of cardstock. So there are my poems. Let me set that off to the side because now we're going to trim the remaining. I got 5 inches by 11 left over. And we're going to cut that down to 3 inches. That's going to leave us a 2-inch strip. And of course, here's my 3-inch strip. I'm going to use the second to the largest die. I'm going to take this over to my die cutting machine, and I am simply going to center that up. I'm going to run that through. I'll die cut all 4 of my poems. All right, there are my poems. This is officially scrap. We can recycle that. I'm now going to come in with the 3-inch piece, and I'm going to use now the largest die. Let me move this out of my way because I'm going to show you my trick to getting 4 of these large dies out of this piece of cardstock. All right, so can you see I am putting this die right to the edge. I mean right to the very edge. So let me run this one through my die cutting machine. Now, you can see it left just a little bit of edge. When I go to do the next one, I'm going to line it up right here on that edge, right up to the end. I'm going to repeat that so I get 4 squares. All right, there's 3, and I want you to see my very last one. Look at that. Right to that edge. I mean, as close to that edge. Now you understand why I said keep it tight. Go right to the edge. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just keep it right in there. Let me go die cut this last one. And there is my final cut. Woo, look at that. Man, talk about right to the edge. And now for the sentiment on the front. We're going to use the second to smallest or third from the largest. We'll use this size here. And guys, we are simply going to run this die. I've got a little bit more room in this one, so I don't have to get quite so tight. All right, so I've die cut those. I want you to see I actually got 6. Hey, there's nothing wrong with having a couple extras in case I mess up, right? So I went ahead and cut out all 6. I have all my squares and my poems cut, so now it's time to work on the One Sheet Wonder. I have my 8.5 inch side up here at the top. We're going to score at 3/4 of an inch. We're gonna go 3 7/8. Guys, that's the one little mark right before the 4. We're going to go 4 5/8, and that's one little mark past the 4.5 inch mark. And then we're gonna go 7 3/4 of an inch. Really simple scoring, I'm telling you. Now we're gonna cut this into 4 equal pieces, 2 3/4 of an inch. And the last one will get us our last 2. So there are our 4 cookie tea poem holders. I'm going to bring in my detailed trio punch because I really like to corner round. I think this little project looks better with the nice soft corners. And so we're just going to give those a quick punch on the corner rounder there on the detailed trio. You're going to come in with your bone folder, give all the score lines a really nice crease. I like to add designer paper. I especially love the specialty designer paper because it always has something extra special to it. And I'm going to add a piece. This is 3 inches by 2 5/8. So one piece of 6 by 6 designer series paper will get you the 4 pieces that you need for your 4 tea boxes. On the side that has the designer paper, I'm going to add my tea bag. And I'm just going to put a couple little strips of snail right there. It's going to hold it just fine. By the way, you're going to make sure your tea bags are individually wrapped. That's really important, guys. We're going to take our Biscoff cookies, and I'm going to add some snail here. And we're just going to line those up. It fits just perfect in here. So line those wonderful little cookies right in there. And you can see that's how that's going to fold into the little book. Now, to decorate, let's take some of those pieces that we die cut. I took the larger one and I stamped Happy Christmas. That's from the Itty Bitty Christmas stamp set. We're going to add that. By the way, I will sign my name before I adhere it. And we can add that to the cookie. I can then take my Christmas poem and I can attach that right here. Now, that is the one sheet wonder part, but if you want to decorate, I'm going to show you what I did. I took the largest and second to largest stitch-shaped square framelit, and I'm going to take the largest one, and I'm going to center that up in my tea bag. Then I can add my Christmas tree sentiment, my sweet little poem, and that's going to go right inside. All right, before we decorate the box, we do need to tie it up with some ribbon. You're going to need 20 inches of ribbon for each one of your boxes, and I'm just going to tie this here on the side. Once you have that tied down, you're going to want to place a little Scotch tape, something to hold that down. You might even put tear and tape under the ribbon, but let me show you why. Back on my first sample, look what happens. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that ribbon sliding around. I wish I had taken the time to adhere that, so I'm going to let you learn from my mistakes because I don't have to worry about that tape or the ribbon moving now that I have that tape on there. All right, now let's decorate. So we're going to take that one size smaller of our pretty peacock. I'm going to place 4 Stampin' Dimensionals on the back, and we'll add that right to the center. Now, let me go ahead and bring in my first one here. You remember all those little squares I had you cut? Well, I just stamped Thinking of You at Christmas. That's from the Itty Bitty Christmas stamp set, as was the sentiment from the inside, remember? And I adhered that with some Stampin' Dimensionals. I also took the leaves trinket. Isn't that nice? Just that little bit of extra touch, and I just adhered that with a mini glue dot. And guys, that's all there is to it. Isn't that just the prettiest thing? And remember, this is going to make 4 of your little teas. Let me go ahead and bring all 4 in again. I think they all look so pretty. You can see my designs on the front, changed it up. I continue to use the stitch shape throughout. I wanted to show you this one. Rather than designer series paper, I used cardstock that I embossed with the stylish scroll. Isn't that pretty? And then I used the Stitched Be Mine hearts with foil. That's a really great one. And again, these two have a really cute friendship poem inside. Now, in the tutorial, all 4 poems will be available to you, and they're all set and ready for you to cut. So I hope that you guys will check that out at simplysimplestamping.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that tonight's projects really inspired you. I hope too that you enjoyed that we had more than just Christmas gifts tonight. Yes, every design had a Christmas project, but isn't it nice to know that you're going to be able to use these all year long? And we always have friends that we might want to give a calendar to, or that little Hershey nugget box, or of course the teas, especially with the friendship poem. Those are a lot of fun. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that there is a tutorial collection, 22 pages long, featuring the diagrams and everything that you need so that you can recreate the projects. Having written instructions, having diagrams really makes doing one sheet wonders much, much easier. A lot less brain stress, if you know what I mean. And I want to tell you where you can find the tutorial collection. If you will head over to simplysimplestamping.com, just look for the December 5th, 2019 blog post. That's where this video will be. Photos of the projects that I created tonight, and of course a link where you can get the tutorial. I would love to be able to email you this wonderful PDF tutorial to make it nice and easy for you so you can get to creating as well. And if you'd like to order any of the supplies I used tonight, you can just click my online order button and order the supplies that you need right there. If you enjoyed the video today, I would really appreciate a little thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. And if you haven't already subscribed, take a moment to click the great big red subscribe button so that YouTube will let you know whenever I'm back with a new video or a new premiere. That's all for me tonight. I hope you guys had a great time. I look forward to stamping with you again soon. Have a fabulous night, my friends. Bye-bye.